How's it going, everybody? Welcome to The Hang. We're really excited to be here in Easton, Pennsylvania, with a legendary jazz bassist.
There you go with that word again.
You're right.
Bassist?
Yeah. No, he doesn't like the word legendary, but I mean, to me, he's legendary.
Absolutely.
But we're here at PM Records, the home of one of the greatest bass players of all time, who's recorded and played with a list that is so long that it would take up the entire hour of this podcast. And most importantly, he is my grandpa of late, Mr. Gene Perla. Let's welcome Gene Perla.
Yeah. Good to see you. Good to meet you, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's
yes,
wonderful. I love the cameraman. He's a good guy too.
Yeah,
Great.
Dan the man. We haven't introduced Dan.
He might exist. He might not exist.
We have this funny thing is like where we call him Dan the man, but no one knows what he looks like yet. So we're like, oh, is he a real guy or is he just But Gene's met him, so now he is a real guy.
He's real. I can vouch for that.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Yeah. Well, so we like to start out these podcasts with kind of asking our guests who they are from their perspective. So if you had to introduce yourself to someone that's never met you, never knew who you were, what would you say about yourself?
Well, I do this often because I teach school, and in the beginning of every semester, I have a PowerPoint that I present to the class because I want them to know who I am, what I've done, and so forth. So it's quite extensive, But if I were to meet somebody casually in a club or something like that, I'm a musician. I play the bass, and usually a question's going to flow from that,
Yeah.
And then I answer the questions and so forth. But pretty simple about that. And I also teach. I teach at the New School University in New York, and I teach music business. So like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Dave and Ryan here. So sorry to take you away from today's episode. We just have something exciting to announce.
We have a brand new PDF package that we're bringing to you called How to Hang on a Jazz Standard, 2 Approaches to the Same Tune.
In this PDF package, there's 10 etudes from each Dave and I, all transposed B flat, E flat, and C, and it's both of our approaches to the same tune. We also have over 2.5 hours of video footage of us analyzing everything that we played. I'm thinking C7 altered, ba 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 ba, pretty much like a Donna Lee phrase, right?
And you could pick it up today, and all you have to do is go to davepollack.com/store.
Now, back to the episode. So after you say, you teach at the New School, you've been a bassist for, a long time, I'm sure the next question is, well, who have you played with? So you don't have to give a full discography, but maybe you could talk about some of the people that you've gotten the chance to play with throughout the years.
Whenever I'm asked that question, I get a funny feeling creaks up my spine, to say like, well, I could say all these names, but I don't want to come off sounding like an ego,
Oh, yeah.
So that's something, but I might as well give them to you, right?
Yeah, might as well. This is all about you. This show is about you.
They want to know.
So we'll start at the top, Frank Sinatra.
Woo.
Right, yeah. And big time also Joni Mitchell. Yeah. And in the jazz world, the world's greatest jazz drummer of all time, Elvin Jones.
Amen.
And Dan Getz, Miles Davis. And I'll stop now.
Okay. That's incredible. So how did you get started playing the bass?
I was a classical piano player for 10 years, from 5 to 15, and then went on to high school and played trombone for 5 years in the marching band and the concert band, did a little singing, played the piano a little bit. I learned my first exposure to jazz was the Ted Heath Orchestra, an English big band, and that knocked me out. I think I bought 11 or 12 of their albums, and unbeknownst to me, my mom got in touch with him on their first tour of the United States, and they were playing at Carnegie Hall in New York. And after the show, she took me backstage, and I got to meet him and so forth. That was a lot of fun. The MC of that night was Nat King Cole, and then I became aware of him and playing the piano. But it was still like, music, okay, whatever. So I go away to college. And I'm studying engineering civil engineering. I flunked out the first year. I did some business course. I don't remember the name of it. The second year, I flunked out of that one. I spent a lot of time in the pool hall. I'm a pretty good pool player.
Nice.
Take anybody's money?
No, I probably in the negative column. I'll still call myself pretty good relative to the rest of the planet.
Sure.
What happened after that? I was feeling a little tipsy in my third year at University of Toledo, and went to this club because one of my fraternity brothers told me he was playing in a band. And so when I walked in, these four guys wearing the same jackets, dressed up nice, they're playing their own instruments and singing, all four of them, in tight harmony. And they were just doing covers. One of the things they did, one of the bands they covered was the Four Freshmen. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Yeah. And the other was the Kingston Trio, because one of the guitar players, he doubled on banjo. So we had, this kind of thing going on. And I heard them, and in my drunkenness, I went up at the end of the set, and I said, man, I want to join your band. Because it just came over me. I said, I could do this stuff, I can sing a little bit. I could play the trombone, piano. They don't have that stuff, And so they took me in the band. The drummer and I became really close friends. And most Saturdays, we go to the local record shop, and it's the day of the LPs, right? There was no such thing as shrink wrap. If you saw an album, you took it to the listening booth, and you liked it, whatever. I put on 1959, Kind of Blue comes out. And I hear this piano player, Bill Evans, and I'm listening to him. Okay, a few months later, Sunday at the Village Vanguard with Bill Evans' trio, Scott LaFaro, Paul Motion. We used to call him Paul Modian back then. That was the pronunciation.
Really?
And then somehow, where along the line, this Motion, right? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I put that, the very first song on side one is a tune by LaFaro called Glorious Step, and the melody goes, da, 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 and then Bill plays 3 chords going down chromatically with a minor interval on one of the 2 of the 3 notes, minor, gling, 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 like that. When I heard that sound, I'd never heard anything like that in my life. That was the instant that I said, I want to be a jazz piano player. So I looked around, North Texas State for big bands, Berkeley School of Music, called back then, for small groups. That's what I wanted. So I went there, and I'm playing that piano, and on weekends, I never practiced like that in my life, ever. I'd be there on a Saturday, it could be 10 hours, go to the bathroom, get something to eat, and play, and work on the 2/5 progressions of Bill Evans, and running the scales, and all that, just over and over and over in all keys, right? And I'm getting frustrated because I'm never going to be Bill Evans, right? I'm coming to 24 years old. And I see a friend of mine from Biloxi, Mississippi.
Nice. There you go.
I said, bring that around.
Yeah, bring that right around, yeah.
I saw him in the street one day, by Berkeley, and he said, man, come on over to the place. I got this new record, man. You're going to check it out. I said, sure. So we go over there, and I had just started smoking marijuana, so we toked up, I had a puff and so forth, and he puts on The Shape of Jazz to Come, Ornette Coleman. Man, I heard that bass, and that was my ticket to freedom, man. Wow. I said, one note at a time. I understand harmony. I know what a root is. I can do this, and I feel like I have good time. Because I would listen to Wynton Kelly play, or Philly Joe, or anybody, who's for Sonny Rollins, and listen to their swing, and I'm saying, I feel that swing. I feel it. I think I can do it. I could be with that thing. So I went the very next day, changed my major to bass, and only took 2 lessons from the bass guy, and he showed me how to hold the bass, and he showed me how to hold the bow.
Wow.
Yeah, one of them worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was it. That's how it happened, and I was fortunate after that my roommate, John Voigt was his name. He was a bass player, and he was playing in a Latin dance band called the Los Muchachos in Boston. They're working 6 nights a week, right? So he decides to quit, and I just started playing bass, and only playing it for a few months. And he said, "You want this gig?" And I said, "Well, I'll go, check it out." I got hired, right? So in that band was Don Alias. Man. Another name that people might know is Mark Levine, just passed not too long ago. He was playing valve trombone and piano. Yeah.
Wow.
So I did that for some months, and then it was time to go to New York. So that's...
And the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
That's such a cool thing.
That's how the bass thing just started. You just switched it, practiced. Now, did you practice? Did you jump into the bass practicing 10 hours a day like you were on piano?
No. The only time I practiced in my life that I can say that I really was practicing was the first summer. I started playing in January. By that summer, I went home to my parents' home, New Jersey, and I practiced pretty much every day for about 2, maybe 2.5 months. I was diligent, not 10 hours, but,
Yeah.
Yeah. And but that's it. Since then, I never practiced. Yeah.
Do you think the foundation of starting with classical piano, switching to jazz, kind of built that foundation for you on bass? Because you said you know harmony, you can play.
Yeah, well,
time.
It's interesting because there was a fellow in one of the gigs that I played in New York, and he didn't know that I had a piano background, and I mentioned it, and he says, "Oh, now it makes sense how you're able to play the bass the way you do, because of the lines and stuff that I play." I guess that's what he was commenting on. I don't really know,
Yeah.
but whatever's in here
Sure.
comes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's interesting, like you say that, you practiced for 2.5 months very diligently on the bass, and then, just started getting gigs and things. And I think, nowadays, a lot of that is flipped because, there's not as many opportunities to play 6-7 nights a week, and get the experience, right?
You let me know if you find one.
Right. Yeah.
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 Las Vegas, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. With like a fusion thing.
In a
or
show,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. But like how would you, I guess this is a very loaded question and I don't even really know how to ask it correctly, but is there an equivalent to what you think people could be doing today in order to get that experience? And do you think that you playing 6 and 7 nights a week with different kinds of bands, salsa bands, jazz bands, all that stuff, is an equivalent or better than sitting in a practice room for 10 hours a day and practicing? I know it's a loaded question, but...
Well, I'll just give you a particular experience I had when the very first gig that I consider was professional, really on the high level side, was with Willie Bobo, the timbale player. And in that band, though, was Carlo Patato Valdez, conga drummer from Cuba, short little black guy, man. And he took me under his wing, that guy. And I got to meet so many people in that world, Afro-Cuban world, and listen to that music and be involved in playing some of it, And I'm frustrated with my playing because I didn't practice, and I wasn't practicing. And I was feeling, and to this day still feel the same way, my limitation technically. I hear this stuff, but I never put the time in to figure it out. It's no man's land once I get one octave up on the instrument. You think I'm kidding, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I could say that some recordings you're everywhere.
Well, let's say that I get very lucky.
Okay.
All right, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I was frustrated, and I said to Potato, I'm thinking I should really just stop playing and maybe go up to Maine and rent a cabin or something and just stay up there for a few months and really practice. And he went, "You're wrong. He said, "You need to play for the people. That's where you get it." And he was absolutely right. Man, we were working 6 nights a week. Boom. That's where my practice came in, because I had to deliver right then, right? Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good.
but the there's like so many elements of performance, I think, that you can learn and get better at when you're performing. It's not only like the music part, but it's like, because there's no safety net. When you're practicing, you can develop bad habits. Like, I put in 2 hours, but if you're making mistakes the whole time because there's no stakes, right? You develop bad habits. Practice makes permanent. Yeah. So when you're in that mindset of like, all right, the lights are on, the crowd's there, they paid money to be here, this band hired me, like, you get put in that situation over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. You only get better at that part of it, and the music part too, obviously. But like, I always tell people, like, if all you do is practice all the time and you're running these licks and you're doing this, when you finally go and play, you're just going to sound like you're practicing. You have to get out there in some way. Mm-hmm. Even, obviously, like you said, you can't gig 7 nights a week, realistically. Most people don't. So you got to figure it out. But, that's where opportunities to perform, I think, are so important, because the only way you're going to get better at performing is to perform, so. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was able to go on the road with you for 5 weeks, a couple of summers ago. And I tell you what, I learned just as much in those 5 weeks that I learned in all 4 years of my undergrad degree. Wow. You know what I mean? Just like being on the road and how to manage mentally, like performing. We were performing like at least 5 nights of the 7 days of,
Yeah, it was a good tour.
Yeah, it was great. And being on stage with you and hearing you every night, and Adam Nussbaum at just the rhythm section at such a high level, and then me mentally having to be like, okay, well, I'm a fourth of their age, and now I have to go and play with them and try and respect the music. This is my gig, but I want to respect them just as much. Like figuring that out from a performance perspective, and then also like the music. You know what I mean? Like playing the music, playing the same songs every night too from our record, and like not trying to repeat myself all the time or like redoing. It's like that's something I never thought about in school. Like, why would I ever think about that? As a part of being a professional musician. But I learned that all on the road. And now I'm way more confident when I go play because of those experiences.
There are far more people who play music than there are musicians. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people who play music. Right. But being a musician, I don't even mean professional. I just mean like the element of being a musician is not just, okay, I'm going to play a 2-5-1 and C. Like you were just saying, there's so many different things about it. Like if you're playing, or just say you're doing a run at the same place 4 nights in a row. Right. Are you going to play the same set list every night? Are you going to play the same tempos every night? Are you going to, those things, especially if you're the band leader.
Yeah, making a set list. I didn't take a class in college how to make a set list. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you... and this is something I wanted to talk about. Nowadays, it's really no one listens to a full record anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, especially because of the streaming world and clips and stuff like that, people listen to like the first song or like maybe one that they are familiar with, but they never listen to it all the way through. You know what I mean? Because it's so easy to just bop around or whatever.
A lot of people don't even know what if it's on an album from recent or not. They just say, "Oh, look at this one song that came out."
And something that's interesting is like listening to something all the way through is like a set list. People like, I've been told that like, you would make a record based on like how each song went into one another. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now
it's a story. It's a book.
It's a book. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And even the liner notes, tell a story and everything. And now that's completely gone. So like, not a lot of universities talk about this, at least that I've experienced, or teachers like, that's making a set list at the highest level. It's like making a record. But then when you get younger musicians that want to go out and play a tune or go out and play a gig and make a set, it's like all the same tempos in a row, all the same key in a row. Because they're like, oh, these are the tunes that I know really well and I practice, but it's all like the same thing over and over and over again.
They go in alphabetical order.
Yeah, right. And it's just like,
You know what I thought of? An idea doing a record, like if we were talking about doing one, but it just say we do 8 tunes, but making it one track. With pauses, so it's almost like one set of music. So people start at the beginning.
That's actually a good idea.
It forces them to start at track 1 and go through.
But they don't know that it's.
They don't. We'll tell them there'll be timestamps or something.
It's an hour and a half.
It's an hour and a half one track, but that's the only track of the album. Think about it, because then they can't skip around. Well, I mean, they could.
I guess they could. Yeah.
But
let me know how that works out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. We will.
It's pretty good.
Maybe we could put it on PM Records. Yeah.
Yeah. But wrapping back to your question, what I think the things that people should try to do is to play as much as possible.
Yeah.
Practicing, absolutely. But to get out there to play with people, if it's in a jam session, if in just a jam in somebody's house, you go out to a club or something, take any gig that you can within reason, depending on your outlook on the financial aspect. Are you willing to play for $10 or, how important is it to you? I can tell you this, that in the beginning, I never would ask what a gig would pay. I'd just go and do it. That's it. Those early years,
Yeah.
Mulgrew Miller really drilled that into my head about taking gigs, different kinds of gigs that come your way, and just, you can learn so much, once again, non-musically even, from any gig.
Yeah.
You can learn how certain people work. You can make the connections. It's like, I think it's so valuable to get asked to do a gig, to say yes, to go through it, prepare for the gig, perform the gig, and then everything that comes with it. So even if it doesn't pay as much, you can still get a lot out of it, just not, in the bank
For
account.
me,
maybe.
it's the playing is number one. That's what you're getting out of it. For me, that's the number one. Mulgrew was living in Easton when he passed.
Yeah, I know he moved because he was up in North Jersey for a bit, and then
Well, how do you know him?
he was the director at William Patterson University when I was there. In
Oh, you went to school
2005.
there.
Yeah, 05 to 2010. He was there for my time there. He started because James Williams died in 04, and so Mulgrew started right when I started in 05. So
okay.
got to hang with him a lot, learn from him.
Yeah.
Did a little playing with him, and it was fun.
Yeah. Good guy.
Great guy.
And you talk about the jam session stuff and like playing. You had a loft in New York where
Yes.
you said that, maybe you could talk a little bit about that, but you would have musicians over all the time playing, jamming, doing that whole thing. I'm sure that is kind of also what you're talking about, like doing now today. Like just bring your friends over and play,
Yeah. It wasn't so open. There was like a core of people, but others would come by, and play. But the idea was, especially if we weren't working, we have to do something,
Yeah.
And so we just hit it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were the main members that would come over?
Steve
and play?
Grossman was the saxophonist, and Don Alias was the drummer. And the grand portion of the time, Jan Hammer was there. So we had a pretty nice sound together, the four of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need some tapes of that.
Oh, there's some that are uploaded already.
Oh,
but
yeah?
You've got like how many more? Like 100,000 more tapes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100,000.
Yeah.
That's
So, yeah.
I hear about that all the time, about how people would have a setup in someone's apartment. They'd always have people over, and I don't know. Do people do that anymore? Like it's like,
at Berkeley,
I don't hear about it too much. Well, it's at schools. I know people do.
I
it.
know that there's a session scene at least in Boston, that like you get called to, people get called to play sessions like in the music buildings because they're so big now and everything. But I've never really done it at people's apartment because it's so easy to get noise complaints.
Oh,
nowadays,
for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's really, and it's really easy to get the cops called and then you to get kicked out. Yeah. But I do know that at least in Boston, my experience has been like when I got to NEC, like people would call people for like just a session, like just come and play tunes.
At the colleges, I think that's a normal thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm like people's houses and stuff just like set up to have like a people, like, because I know people that would be saxophone players, but they'd have a piano, a drum set, maybe a bass amp at least.
Sure.
And so people don't have to like schlep all their gear. They can just kind of. But like, I don't hear about that too much.
It's also hard to afford a space to have a band in. You know what I mean? Like, living in like a city and stuff like that, to have enough money to have a space to.
Well, I mean, when I came to New York City, it was a different world completely.
Yeah.
I mean, the loft that I had, the final loft that I had, the building was owned by the city of New York. I could park my car 365 right in front. The rent, including the heat, was $95 a month.
What year was this, or roughly?
Let's see, 60, 68, 69, 70, something like that. Yeah.
How long did you live there for?
A couple of years.
Yeah.
And I had one on Bleecker Street before that.
Right.
The very first night that I moved in, Chick Corea and Joe Farrell came over, and we had a jam session.
What's that like?
That was fun.
I bet.
Yeah, well, Chick liked the way I played, so he asked me to come out to his house in Queens. So I went out there, 2, maybe 3 times a week for quite a number of months, and we just jam, as we were just talking about, in his basement.
Is he about the same age, or was he or no, he's a little younger than you?
Yeah, but not much. Yeah. He and Don Alias, when Don was involved in Boston and stuff, he and another conga drummer taught Chick Latin music. He didn't know anything about it. And they said that 1 week later, after they had shown him the clave and gave him these records to listen to and stuff like that, he came back and nailed it. Boom, in a week. Wow, he had those articulate chops, man.
Phew.
Yeah.
It's like McCoy-esque, like the staccato-ness,
Yeah, but smoother than McCoy.
Yeah. Man, wow.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun, interacting with him. And then later, I got him to do a concert with us at John Coltrane Memorial Concert in New York. That's on my label.
Yeah.
And then he recorded later on with Elvin.
Yeah.
So, the 2 piano thing with Jan Hammer.
Yep.
Or 2 keyboard thing. Yeah.
That's a crazy record.
Yeah.
Man. I know you've been speaking little bits about PM Records. Maybe you could talk about how that came to be, what it is, where it is now.
Yeah. I think it was Chicago, and I was with Elvin, and Dave Liebman was in the band, and after the first night gig, I'm in the hotel lobby during the daytime. I see him. Hey, what's up, man? What's going on? He said, I'm so frustrated. I said, about what? And he says, I've got this record I'm shopping, and all the labels, nobody wants it. And I said, well, I'd like to hear it. So we went up to his room. It was the days of the cassette, right? He puts it on. I listen to it, and I'm really enjoying what he's doing, and it just like it came over me that I wanted to be Bill Evans like that. It came over me that I wanted to be Charlie Hayden like that, right?
Hell yeah.
And with Liebman, I said, I'll do it.
Nice.
And I started a record company. Yeah. So that's how it started.
Yeah. That's crazy. And why is it called PM Records?
I guess people think it's Perla Music, which is my publishing company. Well, actually, it's different now. Perla Works. Mm-hmm. But I meant it to mean PM, post-meridian, because jazz music at those days was happening at night. So that's what it... Yeah.
Wow.
Got to amend the Wikipedia page now.
Yeah, right.
Make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've had, on PM Records, you've had Dave Liebman, Steve Grossman, Elvin, Jan Hammer. Who are some other names that have recorded?
Nina Simone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
How is we have a segment that we like to talk to people about, hobbies outside of music. And I don't know necessarily if, being a record label owner is outside of music, but is, how is that maybe played into the role of not always considering yourself a player, but also like in the business of everything?
Yeah. Well, music publishing and representing other musicians, that's how I got involved in the business, after starting my own company. Mm-hmm. But, I can tell you something about hobbies. What I had as a kid that I have done very little since then, but it's in my mind that I want to do it again, is go fishing. I love that, man. Just you get out in the wild, man, you throw that rod, it's great.
Yeah.
Peaceful.
Yeah.
We should all go fishing.
Do
it.
Come down to the shore house.
Yeah, he's at a shore house in Jersey.
Let's go. We go out in the bay, little boat, little 16-foot skiff.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Nothing fancy, but hey, get out in the water, get away from people. It's fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
And I don't know if you call it a hobby, but what I learned from my father was picking mushrooms.
Huh. Oh,
and,
cool.
I haven't now in a while, but I used to at that time of year go out in the woods and, and find these things, and I know how to do it. Funny story. My first wife and I, she liked to walk the dog over and over and over again. It's a Sunday morning. We're out someplace walking along a brook, and I look over and I see these mushrooms growing in the tree, fresh, just came out. I went over there. I knew what they were. I said, okay, pick them up. Took them home. We had lunch. She cooked them. We ate them. Got in the car, went to a local community college where they were having some kind of an art fair, music and all kinds of other stuff. And as I'm pulling into the lobby to park, I'm feeling something funny.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Oh no.
And I'm saying, oh, shit. I said, if this keeps up, I'm going to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
And we started walking towards the place to go in, and it came to me. They were psilocybin mushrooms. What an afternoon that was, man. The colors and the music,
they weren't
man.
quite the ones that you thought.
No. Well, for weeks we went back to that tree. And
The gift that keeps on giving. Wow. And they kept coming up.
No, that was it. A one-time flash. I'd never had that before or since.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, that was fun, though.
Be careful out there, kids.
Yeah. Be careful with the mushrooms that you cook from the
Man.
ground. Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
That's funny.
So,
That's
yeah, there are a
interesting.
couple of hobbies that are still in me.
Cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's interesting. Nice.
Yeah.
Nature. Both related to nature.
Did you play any
Yeah.
sports growing up?
I played baseball in grammar school. I think I played second base and pitcher.
All right.
But that, there wasn't much going on.
Yeah.
And then in my senior year in high school, because I was 6'4", right, I decided to go out for the basketball team. Did I know how to dribble? No.
You're just tall.
He's taller than these other
I was
guys.
just tall. I could just, I said, listen, I'll wait for you guys. I'll just stand around the basket here. So when you get back, you can pass it to me.
Nice.
I'll just stand right here.
Yeah,
and
that's
just
it.
wait for it.
Yeah.
Me and
yeah.
Ryan don't have quite that
No.
problem.
So anyway, I go out for the team, and they put me on junior varsity.
There you go.
I mean, it's all like a joke kind of thing. So now there's a dance. You're going to bring your girlfriend, you go to the dance that night, and the coach called a practice at 9:00 on Saturday morning after the dance. Not one player went. He fired the entire team. All but 3 went back and apologized, and 2 of the top 5 players and myself, we didn't go back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Funny.
So that was the end of the basketball for you.
Oh yeah, that was very short-lived.
Short
I never
career.
had to show that I didn't know how to dribble.
There you go. You got away with it. Wow.
That's funny.
Man.
So it seems like you play a lot with, or just over the years, the people you keep mentioning, saxophone players a lot. Mm-hmm. Is that a conscious thing? Is it like you like saxophone with it, or is it just?
Well,
that's
I
kind of
think it's the number one jazz instrument. Specifically, the tenor saxophone.
nice.
To me is.
Oh, wait a
is-
minute. What was it? Tenor sax? Oh, never
Oh,
mind.
you got to take it back.
Take that
yeah,
back.
yeah. He plays alto mainly.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there's Charlie Parker. Hello.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what am I going to say?
Exactly.
But I just feel that the tenor covers. Good friend, and I love her music, is Nicole Glover.
Yeah.
And I'm so enamored by her capability and her musicianship. But I don't know, just something about that low A flat, and the thing is, it feels like such a masculine thing to me, that instrument. Plus, is there an instrument that you could play any faster on than a saxophone? No way,
think
right?
so.
Probably not.
You
It's set
gotta
up pretty
move.
nice for technique.
Yeah.
It's pretty optimized.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, that's why it's the number one jazz instrument for me.
Yeah.
And it just worked out when I got the gig with Elvin. There were 2 tenor players in
Yeah.
the band.
Yeah.
And then I got 2 in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like being in that band, like, kind of, slapped you into the legacy of
Yeah.
tenor saxophone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another little segment. Just jump into it. We're talking about gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
Where
My favorite segment.
yeah, we talk about horrible gig stories or like any gigs at like unfortunate events or an embarrassing thing or something didn't go right. Either playing wise or like
Or travel circumstances.
travel or the sound guy.
Oh,
or,
I got
I'm
it.
sure you have a lot.
I know. This is going to be half the episode.
Yeah, but this
You
is
just-
this is
yeah,
always
sorry.
the interesting stuff because everybody sees the nice polished. This stuff went great, but like, what's
We
some of
wanna-
the dirt? Spill the tea, as the kids say.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's. I'm going to go in providing the names of the players that I've had the opportunity to be with.
Yeah.
I start at the top. I'll start at the top with this too.
Cool.
Jeremy Steig, flute player. He gets a contract with Capitol Records, to make an album. And his band at that time was me on electric bass, Jan Hammer on synthesizer and electric keyboard, and Don Alias on drums and overdub congas and bongos, whatever. So we go, he wants to record it at the Jimi Hendrix studio, Electric Ladyland. Right? So we go there, and we've been playing gigs. So we go in and 3-hour session, they have enough for 2 albums. Just play the tunes and that's it. 2 days later, Jeremy and I went by the studio, and our engineer was Eddie Kramer, who was Jimmy's engineer.
Wow.
And we walk in, and Eddie's doing a job. He hands us the cassettes, and he said, "Oh, and by the way," he said, "yesterday when I was doing this mix, Jimmy walked in, and he was listening to it, and then asked me who you were, and I told him, and then he said, 'I'm going to England.' I said, 'When I come back, I want to play with these guys.'" And he never came back. Talk about a missed. I'm, and just in my mind, listening to Hendrix, where he was at, his approach to the music, with us, and not the flute player, but
yeah. Imagine if you did a Stone
Alias
record.
and Hammer and myself, this would have been some hell of a band.
Wow.
That's what I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So that was, talk about a missed opportunity. The second, number 2.
Uh-oh.
Bill Evans, my hero.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to be a jazz musician because of him, right? Time goes on. I'm in New York. The phone rings. It's him. He says, "I'm looking for a bass player. Will you come to my house in New Jersey?" And, we play a little bit. Sure. So I go out there and we play a little bit. And he says, "Okay, the gig is yours." It's like,
Bing. Yeah.
it's like, the heavens opened up.
Yeah.
Is there really religion? I don't know. He said, "Call Helen," his manager, who was like on him, thumb. And probably why he lived as long as he lived. She was really protective of him. So anyway, she said, "Call Helen and tell her you got the gig." And he said, "We're going to Los Angeles, and then we do a week in Los Angeles, come back and do a week at the Vanguard, and then we're going to Greece." And now I'm really like, woo! I go home, call Helen on the phone. I said, "Hi, Helen." We knew each other. And I said, "I'm Bill's new bass player." She says, "No, you're not." Phew. It was like astounded, I don't remember the conversation after that, but hung up. About an hour later, the phone rings. It's Bill. He says, "Here's what we decided to do. We'll have you go to California for the week, and then we'll have Mike Moore, a bass player." As soon as I heard that name, I went like, whoa. He'll do the Vanguard, and then we'll decide who's going to Greece. And I said, "Good luck, Bill." And I said, "I can't deal with that."
Wow.
I turned it down. The drummer at that time was Philly Joe Jones. And I felt that I could have walked between those two guys. The harmonic fluidness of Bill and Philly Joe's bebop, taka-taka-ta chops, and they loved each other. I mean, Bill was crazy about Philly Joe. And I think I could have really walked in between those two. But I just felt so dissed being, and what the fuck, man? How about me? I want to play the Vanguard. Fuck California. Excuse me.
That's such a bummer because Bill's like, "It's yours."
Yeah, no, it's your gig, right? Yeah.
And, well,
Why do you think?
So,
do you have any reasoning in your mind as to what what had happened?
I just wanted to add something else
sorry.
too, and I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever, because I have all the respect and admiration for Michael Moore. He's a marvelous bass player. He's very close to being like a perfect kind of player.
Mm-hmm.
Great technique. He's in tune. He's melodic. He's got the shit together. But the way I'll explain it to you is to jump to another Elvin Jones story. we're playing a gig in Baltimore, and Grossman comes to me, and he said, there's this piano player from D.C. he'd like to sit in. I said, yeah, okay. And he says, can you ask Elvin? I said, why don't you ask him? Grossman.
Yeah.
I'll ask Elvin. So I asked Elvin, and Elvin said, yeah, to have him come up for the last tune. So he comes up, plays, boom. On the break, I go to Elvin, and I said, what'd you think of the piano player? He says, he ain't got no ass.
I love that quote, man. I love that quote.
Man, if that doesn't say it, man, you know. And that's what I have to say about Michael Moore. He's a marvelous musician, but relative to me, he doesn't have any ass. He doesn't have as big an ass as me.
Yes, put that on a T-shirt.
See, this is what the jazz schools aren't telling their students.
That's right.
When you practice, you got to have a big ass when you play. Oh, my God.
Well, let me... other things might come to mind, but let me just lay this on you, too. Don Alias and I spent a ton of time together when I first joined that Latin dance band in Boston. And during the breaks, every break we'd go outside, smoke a joint, and talk about this, that, and the other thing. We spent hours and hours and traveling together, and then we were working together with Nina Simone, and just a ton of time. And certainly we'd be talking about music and our philosophy about things and what we felt about how this player was relative to what we thought was appropriate, whatever. And we came up with this, I don't know if you want to call it an axiom, but here it is. If I hear you, you're fucking up. And what that means is that when there are competent players, really good players together, there's a commonness that's felt in the beat, in the communication, in the volume levels changing infinitesimally. We're just doing all that stuff on the fly, right? What that means is because you're so in sync with one another, if somebody steps outside of that vibe, it now will pull your attention there. Because I don't want to have to be paying attention to you. I want to be paying attention to me and what I'm doing. So don't disturb me. And if you step outside of this stuff, you're going to disturb me. If I step outside the stuff, I'm going to be disturbing the band, right? So that's what it means. If I hear you, you're fucking up. Of course, I hear them, but it's just a flow. And that way you can paint the picture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. You're playing with the band. Everybody, it's like a collective versus each person kind of doing their own thing and, just saying, well, I'm doing this, so screw you guys. Like that.
Yeah. That was one of the first things.
Well, I don't know if there's something not right there. It's not that I don't care what they're doing. I'm very caring about what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
And that's why I love to be with the better players, because then we really have a sweetness that, we're sucking on together.
Well,
love it.
Yeah. I think also like there's a line also, because I think you're like speaking rhythmically. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to hear them stepping outside of the time and making all things, weird and feel. But harmonically speaking, like, we've talked about this when playing together. Like, it's fun to harmonically move together, like, especially when we're playing tunes that are like just open or whatever. And I know that listening to the tapes of you in the Lost with Grossman and Hammer, and, you guys are right in the time together, but harmonically, it's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You guys are going ebbing and flowing. So I think, like, I remember when you first told me this when we started playing together, because I came up and I was like, Gene, can you tell me what I need to work on? Hey, man. Sounds great, man.
No, you sound great.
Yeah. The higher the pitch, the worse you are, right? Sounds great, man. But anyway, and you said this to me.
Harold Mayburn.
Yeah. And you said this to me, and at first I was like, I thought about it, and I was like, man, I wonder, like, really the time thing kind of locked into me. And I was studying with Billy Hart at the time too. And that, like, studying with him, like, all this was kind of in my brain about it. Like, I get it. Like, he doesn't want to hear me mess with the groove, the vibe. But harmonically speaking,
Go wherever you want.
yeah, go wherever you want. And if you go at it from a point, and this is why I love listening to those Loft tapes, that is, you know, people snake around changes or whatever, but like, you know what you're doing well enough to teach it to somebody else, like in the band. Like when you're playing like a note in the, you know, that you're trying to move harmonically out, do it in a way that's evident to the band so that the band can move with you, you know? So like, it's almost like you don't want to, you want to be doing your own thing rhythmically and locking in, but harmonically make it obvious to the band so that it could just be this one, it's, you know, you gave a great analogy the other day when we were talking after a show about when you were playing with Elvin, sometimes it felt like the beat was a pond with no ripples in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Like glass.
Like glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I've also heard the analogy of like when people skip rocks, like that's like how a horn player plays on top of the time. He's like even amounts of skipping on top of that rhythm section. Like
yeah,
the
that's
glass.
good. That's all right. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that was you know, to go back on like, you know, going on the road versus being in school, like that was something I learned from you, just playing every night and talking about it on the stand, and then just like made the association in my brain and like, oh, now I can go and work on that. You know what I mean? It's like, phew, that's amazing.
Cool. Give me a gig.
Yeah. Give me a gig. I love that. That's another $5 you owe me. yeah. That's great. Do you have any other like stories on gigs where something just went kaput, you know, like just terrible, or like on a gig rather than maybe about a gig?
I guess I'm still wrestling with accepting the fault of this. Maybe I should have been more direct during the rehearsal when I played with Joni Mitchell at the Hollywood Bowl. And we had this one tune that I'm saying we're going to repeat the end. I don't remember exactly something, you know. Are we going to do this thing? And the answer that I got, but I wasn't really 100% sure in my mind that, yes, we were going to play. So when we finished the song, I go hit a note, and I'm the only one who's playing.
Ooh.
And Joni turned around, whew, man, fell like that, and looked at me, you know. And, you know, but it was just a boop, you know, it wasn't like a big, you know. But still, it was a mistake, you know. That was a big one. Woo. Yeah.
Man.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. She still likes me.
Yeah. At the Hollywood Bowl, though. And that was with Herbie
and Mike
Brecker,
yeah,
and Alias.
Yeah.
What a lineup that is.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Did it ever get easier? Well, I guess you kind of grew up with people like that, but like maybe besides Elvin, or maybe not even Elvin, was there a moment where you were playing with people like that where you were like starstruck and nervous to play with these people? Or was it always like, I'm going to do my thing, here I am, I'm here, let's, you know?
Not that I wouldn't get pretty alert,
Sure.
let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if I'm playing the bass, that was the most comfortable spot that I could find myself in.
Right.
You know, I mean, just standing there with somebody and trying to make some conversation with someone who's like, you know, I'm going to stand next to Frank Sinatra. I'm going to, I'm an Italian kid from New Jersey, like you. You know, do you know about these mushrooms?
Yeah, I have some. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So no, I never. I don't recall that I was, you know, would be on a spot where I'd be really nervous about it.
This has been incredible.
It has been awesome. Thank you again for doing this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People get a sense of, you know, what you've been doing, and, you know, they see the records and stuff, but it's cool to hear it from your point of view. Mm-hmm. How is it playing with Ryan? I wanted to ask you that.
Nah.
How is it playing with Ryan? Like, unfiltered, you can actually tell the truth.
Oh, God.
Let's hear it. How is he as a band leader? How is he as a player?
Oh, God.
You know what gets Ryan over for me more than his musicianship is his sincerity of what he's trying to do, and that he's a no fool around. Let's get down and let's do the work. You know, aside from the music, all the stuff that you do, that's fantastic. You know, fashion, coffee, what the hell?
I got to make up for all the people that think I don't know how to play dominant chords.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people to make up for.
Yeah.
But more specifically about the music, which was the first turn on. You know, you call me on the phone, let's do a gig. You know, I say, okay, fine. Nussbaum's telling me he knows how to play. Okay, good. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So we get on the gig, and what I noticed almost instantly was I don't have to think about him. He's not in my way. You know, now some of the stuff that you play is you draw my attention, but it's because it's a musical thing that you're doing, you know. But most of the time with your time and stuff where you're laying it in, I'm free to do what I want, and I really appreciate that, you know. Yeah. So
Yeah. He's also like, when I called him, I was so nervous because like I've been listening to Gene forever, and you know all my favorite records are Gene's on them, you know, and so I remember calling him and I was like, Mr. Perla, you know, can I come? Do you want to do this gig with me in Philly? Like, you know, and it was at Chris's Jazz Cafe.
Oh, was it? Nice.
Yeah. And but I mean, ever since, like it's been so cool, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. So. We have a gig coming up in April. I don't know when this is going to release, but we're playing at the Zinc Bar, playing an Elvin Jones tribute that he is on, the original record he's on, the Genesis Project.
Right.
We're playing with Ravi Coltrane, Danny Walsh, Rudy Royston, and you and me. It's going to be, and Griffin Woodard on bass cornet, NEC alumni, who lives in Bethlehem, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you do a live stream every week.
Tonight.
Yeah, tonight. That's right. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, Gene.
Cool, man.
Thanks for this.
Cool.
We really appreciate it.
This is fun. Let's do it again.
Hey, man.
How about right now?
And run it back. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is great, man. Thanks, you.
Man.
Yeah.
Dave.
It's awesome.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks for having us.
Oh, man.
And for sharing the stories.
Yeah.
It's so awesome to hear. I love it.
Amazing. So inspiring. Remember, everybody, the hang is more important than the gig.
All right.
Oh, dude, yeah.